She spent 3 years as her mother's caregiver. Every night, every hospital visit, every bill. Her brother showed up for the funeral and left with everything. Nadia was the eldest of 2. Practical, steady, the one the family called when things got hard. When her mother was diagnosed with a progressive illness 3 years ago, Nadia didn't hesitate. She moved back to her childhood home, cut her work hours, and became her mother's full-time caregiver. Her younger brother, Rami, lived 2 hours away. He called on birthdays. He came for Christmas, sometimes. He always had a reason he couldn't do more. Nadia never complained. She kept a notebook, not out of resentment, but because she was organized. Every medical appointment, every prescription cost, every night she stayed up. She just liked to keep records. She had no idea how important that notebook would become. Their mother passed away peacefully in the spring. Rami arrived the day before the funeral, dressed well, composed, greeting relatives Nadia hadn't seen in years. He gave a beautiful eulogy. People cried. Nadia stood beside the grave and felt a quiet pride that her mother had been so loved. She didn't know yet that Rami had already been to see the lawyer. Twice. 2 weeks after the funeral, Nadia sat across from her mother's lawyer in a quiet office. She expected to hear what her mother had always told her, that the estate would be split equally. Instead, the lawyer slid a document across the desk. The will had been amended 14 months ago. Everything, the house, the savings, the investments, went to Rami. Nadia received nothing. She read it 3 times. Then she asked, very quietly, when this amendment had been made. The lawyer told her the date. It was during a period when her mother had been on strong medication following a procedure. A period when Nadia had barely slept for 2 weeks straight, taking care of her. Nadia didn't confront Rami. Not yet. She went home and called her mother's doctor, the one who had overseen her care during that period. She asked about her mother's mental state at the time of the amendment. The doctor was careful with his words, but clear. Her mother had been heavily sedated and would not have been considered fully competent to make legal decisions during that window. Then Nadia found something else. A voicemail, still saved on her mother's old phone, from the family lawyer's office, trying to reach her mother directly. The call had come 6 months after the amendment. Her mother had apparently tried to reverse it. The voicemail had never been returned. The phone had been in Rami's possession that week. Nadia opened the notebook. 3 years of entries, dates, times, medical records, receipts, everything documented with the quiet precision of someone who simply liked to keep things organized. She photographed every page. She pulled together her mother's medical records from that period, the doctor's written assessment, and the saved voicemail. She found a probate lawyer, a specialist in contested wills, and booked an appointment. When she laid everything on that lawyer's desk, the woman looked at it for a long moment and said, "This is one of the strongest undue influence cases I've seen in years." Nadia had walked in feeling like she'd lost everything. She walked out with a plan. Before I tell you how Rami reacted when the truth came out, if you're into stories with real stakes and real justice, hit subscribe. We drop a new drama like this every week. Now, back to Nadia. The legal challenge was filed 6 weeks later. Rami was served notice on a Thursday morning. He called Nadia within the hour, furious, disbelieving, calling it a betrayal of their mother's memory. Nadia let him speak. When he finished, she said 3 sentences. "Mom tried to change it back. You had her phone that week. I have the voicemail." The call went silent for a long time. Then he hung up. He didn't call again. The case was settled out of court 4 months later. The amended will was overturned on grounds of undue influence and lack of testamentary capacity. The estate was divided equally, exactly as their mother had originally intended. Rami kept his half, Nadia kept hers. The house was sold. She used her share to clear her debts from the 3 years she had spent caring for her mother, the years she had never asked to be compensated for. She didn't celebrate. She didn't gloat. She just finally felt like her mother's last wishes had been honored. That was enough. Nadia didn't fight because she wanted the money. She fought because her mother had tried to make something right, and someone had stopped her. The notebook she kept for 3 years wasn't a weapon. It was just the truth, written down. And sometimes, the truth is enough. Would you have fought for the truth like Nadia did? Or would you have walked away just to keep the peace? Let me know in the comments. I'm curious to see where you'd draw the line. I read every single one. The next story drops in 2 days. A woman is clearing out her late husband's belongings, books, papers, a life packed into boxes. Then, tucked inside an old novel, she finds an envelope, sealed, never sent. A love letter, written in her husband's handwriting, 3 years into their marriage. Not addressed to her. She almost doesn't read it. She reads it. And what that letter says, and why it was never sent, is going to stay with you long after this video ends. If you're new here, hit subscribe. New stories every Wednesday and Friday. The drama you can't look away from.